This would be a blessing in disguise for Man United to be able to get Bruno Fernandes, who is, one of their best players at the moment at the club, but to be able to get 120 million for him at some point. People have prices, and Bruno Fernandes's price has been met well over 120 millions. Personally, I wouldn't spend a dime over 70 million, but if you can get 50 million over the actual valuation, get it done, United. Man United has a ton of financial problems, and there's no reason for them to absolutely block this signing, considering they have, Mason Mount, who plays the same position. Cunha can play the same position, which they're, trying to get in him from Wolves at the moment. Man United have tons of options to get, past the Bruno Fernandes, being sold to Saudi Arabia. And it makes sense for Bruno too, because you're getting, in your 30s. You're in your 30s now. Possibly your last payday is your next contract. And if you can get as much money as possible from Saudi Arabia, then obviously you get that. People are going to say, oh, but Bruno Fernandes wants to play in Europe and win trophies. Mate, you play for Man United. Let's see where Man United is currently at the table. Wait, 16th place. If I was 16th place in the Premier League and Saudi Arabia was offering me a load of money, 5 times the amount I would get anywhere else, mate, I am already there. It's not like you're going to be winning anything at United, and obviously you're going to be like, oh, the Europa League final. Mate, this is probably the weakest Europa League of all time, considering Champions League increased the amount of teams in the UCL to 36 teams, as well as teams are no longer dropping from the UCL. Used to be third place from the groups, would go to the Europa League. Now all 36 teams that qualify to the UCL have no chance and no possibility of dropping down to the Europa League. Instead, Europa League is actually increasing the amount of bad teams by increasing their amount of teams to 36 as well. So this is the poorest Europa League of all time. And yes, they might win it, but they still haven't won it. But considering Bruno Fernandes is getting towards the end of his prime, it is very smart for him to cash in, and so is United. 120 million. Now, let's see these problems. Ineos for the final are cutting back. It seems like they're cutting back everywhere but wages. You've got Casemiro, who's been very poor, throughout the season. If you try to say otherwise, check the table, man. You can't be praising anyone, really, if you're 16th place. But he's going to get a significant pay rise if the UCL football is being played in United if they win the Europa League final. So instead of trying to cut back on his wages and sell him, no, we're actually going to not allow the staff to attend the Europa League final, while Tottenham are going to be flying out the staff and taking them. Instead, ironically, they're going to receive a ticket to a venue in Manchester and a food voucher. Now, it's the funny thing about this food voucher is the food voucher is for like 2 drinks and a meal for 2 people, but you could bring up to 5 people, but the other people would have to purchase their meals. So not even that, not even cover everyone's drinks and food. No, only some of you guys, not all of you guys. That just shows the state at where Man United is, where they can't even feed the whole staff at an event like this for a European final. So yes, Man United do need the 120 million, and if you don't get this done now, eventually you're gonna do what you do with every other player and sell them for a quarter of what you paid for. Eventually Bruno Fernandes 2-3 years, 10 million to Sporting back there. Something like that's gonna occur. So might as well get a profit considering your financial status. But shout out Ruben Amorim. I want to give a little applause to him. He's had a very bad year. He's 16th place, and he has been very, very adamant that this is a poor season. Said, Man United, I don't care if we win the final. There's definitely problems considering we're 16th in the place. He's a realist. He's saying, we could win this, get UCL football, but we're 16th. 16th, mate. So, instead, he's actually came out and paid for 30 of his United backroom staff and their families to go to the Europa League final, man. It seems like Ruben Amorim's pockets and financials are at a better status than United's, considering he's not afraid to fly out some of the backroom staff. So that just shows the level of the club's financial status. So selling Bruno Fernandes would be absolutely a great deal for 100 anything over 100 million, mate. Get it done, ship him off. If I'm Ineos, if I'm Sir Ratcliffe, I am driving him to the airport myself. Because that's a ton of money. That's definitely going to be able to fix a lot of the financial problems that's going on, and possibly even help, influence other signings like Cunha, Gyökeres, all these other guys that United are linked to can finally actually be bought because of, the transaction of Bruno Fernandes to Saudi Arabia. But that is why Man United should sell Bruno. I understand he's been a fundamental piece for Man United these few past years, but let's consider these few past years have been the worst in Man United history. So you gotta actually, innovate this squad, and it's gonna start from the top, and that's Bruno Fernandes, the captain. Get as much money as you can for him, cash him in. I understand people are going to say, oh, but he's the best thing about the club, mate. The best thing about the club that's in their worst status ever, mate. Don't start showing loyalty for poor performers, man. That's all I have to say. Imagine Arsenal when they were 8th place, showing loyalty to, Lacazette and keeping him throughout his career instead of letting him go. No, you don't do that. They didn't even show loyalty to Aubameyang, who's been the best striker in Arsenal's history since Thierry Henry. Let's get that straight. So that just shows Arsenal made the changes they needed to, favorite and popular players like Aubameyang, they let him go mid-year, for nothing, to Barcelona. And he ends up doing good in Barcelona. But what did these changes, occur? Change. Now they're, now second place is banter, Now 16th place for United, on the other hand, is normal. They lost to West Ham. Nobody cared because they're used to seeing them lose. They almost feel bad. Man United is that case that you're just like, damn, they're genuinely still bad. Like, you would have thought they would have turned it around. You might even do a donation. Do you have a GoFundMe that I could help out? That's the status where the club's at. But anyways, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about United selling Bruno? Should they do it or should they not? But anyways, thank you guys for watching.